What is up, and I welcome each and every one of you back to a brand new Civ 6 video. Today we are going to be going through our first ever Civ 6 leader review. That is right, this guide can be used on Deity, Immortal, even Prince or Warlord or whatever difficulty you play on. This is just me talking about the Civ, talking about their weaknesses and strengths, and coming up with good strategies and pretty much ranking them. You know, how good are they in each victory type, what you should do with them, pretty much dissecting every single Civ. Today we are going to be starting with Germany. Now, before we get started, I have taken inspiration from the Saxygamer. He does have his Civ 6 leader spotlights, and I thought it would be cool for me to do something like that. Obviously, the format's going to be different, and my tips and I guess information is going to be a little different, but I definitely took inspiration from him. I'll link his channel down below in the description. Definitely entertaining stuff. I do like watching him every now and again, but yeah, this isn't going to be like an exact copy or anything. This is like the format's going to be like different. You guys will end up seeing, you probably know from like the video pages or whatever down in the timeline thingy. But without further ado, let's get started with our ability rundown. And real quick before we get started, if you have enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know down below in the comments what Civ you would like to see me do next, and let's get right into the video. Now, despite the fact that they are called Germany in this game, they really only have one ability where you could say they are really German and not really Holy Roman Empire-ish, and that is their U-boat. We're starting with the worst ability first, and the U-boat is a submarine replacement. It is invisible except within sight of city centers, like all submarines. Pretty much, it's just a regular submarine with 10 extra combat strength, higher sight, lower production, and no strategic resource requirement. Now, these abilities on paper look absolutely incredible. They are just mwah. But the problem is, number one, it's a naval unit. Naval units just usually suck in general. Number two, 10 combat strength on ocean tiles is fine, except for the fact that the AI almost never builds boats. And special traits, it has higher sight, that's decent, lower production, that's decent. It's not bad, right? It is not that bad, no matter how many jokes we make about it. No strategic resource requirement is good. The problem is that if you are going to use a U-boat, why the hell would you just not, go for something like a missile cruiser and a couple of destroyers? At the very least, then you can attack cities or something like that. Better yet, go for some aircraft carriers. The U-boat just seems to be kind of a waste, in my opinion, especially since it doesn't really synergize with any of their abilities. If it was somebody like England, who I know it's not historically accurate, but if England had a U-boat, it would make a lot more sense and be a lot better, but it really doesn't just mesh well at all with Germany. But that is pretty much their only bad ability. Their next ability is their German civilization ability, which is the free imperial cities. Each city can build one more specialty district than the population limit would normally allow. This is an absolutely incredible ability. It just pretty much means you're going to have one extra district than usual. When you found a city, you can only build one district. At 3 population, you could build another district. 7 population, you could build another district. 10 population, you could build another district. With Germany, you could build more districts than the population would allow. So you start with like 2 districts at 1 population, 3 at 3, you just get 1 extra district. This might not seem that good, but considering the fact that with Germany you want your hansas and commercial hubs every game, you are going to need extra districts, in my opinion, like campuses, theater squares, entertainment complexes, and having 1 extra district per city is just nothing but a benefit, and it is probably one of their best abilities. Next up, moving on, we are going to talk about Frederick Barbarossa's leader ability, the Holy Roman Emperor. He gains an additional military policy slot in all governments, 7 combat strength for all units when fighting city-states and their units. Now, this is a decent ability. It's not that good because of the fact that most of the time you want to keep city-states and suzerain them. But if you're next to somebody who's maybe like Yerevan or something, like a religious city-state who you really don't need, or maybe even a militaristic city-state, you can go ahead, take them out, especially if they have a really good city spot, maybe near a river, lots of dams, aqueducts potential, floodplains, really good hansas, lots of good resources, maybe even a luxury or two. It is much easier to take out the city-states because 7 combat strength is like the difference between almost a swordsman and a man-at-arms. It's like 10 combat strength. This is only 7, but you know what I mean. And the extra military policy slot is decent. The only problem with that is that military policy slots tend to be the worst ones in any government. Maybe you can make a case for diplomatic being a little worse, but it still is an extra military policy, so it is just still more experience, more resources. You can get the industrial zone adjacency bonus earlier on and put it in the military policy slot. They actually changed that after the April update. But all in all, they're pretty solid abilities here with the Holy Roman Emperor, but nothing too crazy. Finally, we have the piece de resistance, the creme de la creme, the Deutsch of the land. We have the Hansa. The Hansa is an industrial zone replacement, and it is a lot better. It is literally half production. It gets a major +2 production boost for each adjacent commercial hub, 1 production for each adjacent resource, a minor 0.5 boost for all adjacent districts, 1 great engineer per turn, 2 production for each specialist working that tile. Aqueducts and dams obviously provide the 2 production per each one, and looking through this, you obviously know that this is an absolutely incredible district. The fact that you can get adjacency from commercial hubs, aqueducts, dams, and the fact that you can pretty much like put them all together, put cities close together, and you can maybe have like 4 or 5 districts surrounding a Hansa, giving it potentially double-digit production. You put in the industrial zone card that doubles production for industrial zones, and you are looking at almost 20 production on average per industrial zone Hansa. That is absolutely insane production, and this is what makes Germany Germany. Like, I mean, goddamn, this is an absolutely disgusting district, probably the best district in Civ 6 if we're being completely honest, but it is just absolutely incredible. All the production you're going to be getting is just absolutely just magnifique. I would say something in German, but I don't know any German, so we're sticking to French. Yeah, it's pretty much the ability rundown. Let's run into their strengths real quick. Now for the strengths of Germany in Civ 6 or Civilization 6, we have number 1 being production. The amount of production you're going to get from Hansas, like we said, is just absolutely insane. They're so cheap to build, so cheap to maintain, and you could build 1 extra district as Germany than usual, meaning you're almost always going to have these in every city, sorry. And just the amount of production you're going to get will help you towards anything you want. Domination, faith, culture, science, whatever you want, you can get faster with these Hansas. But next up, we have versatility. Versatility is a very big strength of Germany. Looking through production, which is their calling card, you realize that everything in this game really needs production, aside from maybe faith and diplomacy. Even diplomacy, you are going to use your projects, right? Maybe the train athletes project, that's going to require production, and you're going to get diplomatic victory points for that. Faith, you're going to build holy sites, but aside from that, maybe a couple faith wonders is all you're really going to do. But with science, spaceship parts are some of the most expensive projects in the entire game, and being able to build a space part in 5 to 10 turns is a lot better than building it in 15 to 20 plus turns, which is great. Not only that, but with domination, you are going to be able to absolutely obliterate everybody just by throwing, ironically, as Germany, you're going to have more units than the enemy has bullets, which is kind of an Uno reverse card Civ 6 pulled on us, but with notwithstanding, that is something you can do. Just start spamming out military units, and if you're at least somewhat near to the target's technological level, you are going to absolutely obliterate them through sheer attrition alone. And then finally, culture. Obviously, with a culture victory, you're going to want to build expensive archaeologist museums and radio stations, and you're going to want to gobble up every single wonder in sight, which requires production, which is something the Hansa can do. And Germany is just such a versatile civ, the most versatile civ in the entire game, and that is probably their main strength. Finally, their last strength is city-state conquest. City-state conquest isn't really the best thing every game, but with Germany, you are easily going to be able to destroy them, especially below Emperor difficulty, where they don't have walls automatically at the start of the game. You can maybe build 2 to 3 warriors and just start rushing down enemy city-states immediately. It is that good, and Germany is just really good at city-state conquests. It's not the best ability, but it is still one of their strengths nonetheless. Let's talk about the best starting location and the ideal strategy for Germany. For the starting location, they do have a tier 5 bias towards rivers, which is really good, considering the fact that you are going to want commercial hubs and aqueducts, and dams, which do require rivers and floodplains for the dams. But the best starting location for Germany is being in a floodplains region with a lot of nearby hills, or production for your ice production and Hansa adjacency, pretty much. That is probably the best place you could start as Germany. Again, floodplains with a couple of hills here and there, or some strategic resources that would just help your production early on. But talking about the ideal strategy for Germany, it is number 1, grow your population and beeline for Hansas. Starting near floodplains means you are going to, in all likelihood, going to get a lot of food, maybe a few rice tiles here, a marsh there, would help you get your population in most cities to about 6 or 7, allowing you to build 4 specialty districts. Now, the thing about Germany is that you do also want to beeline the hansas as soon as possible because they're so cheap to build. They are so early on the tech tree relatively that you go for that first and then everything else comes in second is probably the best strategy. After that, you are going to want to build hansas and commercial hubs, which you will pick up on the way when you beeline hansas to get trade routes, get more gold, get more production and adjacency for the hansas, and build them while picking up dams and aqueducts on the way. Next up, you are going to want to build those dams and aqueducts in perfect city places. Speaking of which, you are going to want to keep all cities as close as you possibly can for extra adjacency. If you get the nice triangle point thingy, whatever the thing is called, it will give you the highest possible adjacency. Have an aqueduct in every city, a commercial hub in every city, and a dam in every city, and then have the hansas in the middle. You will easily be getting double-digit production for all the hansas, which will translate into 20 plus production after you get the double yield increase with the industrial zone policy card. Now that is really, really strong, obviously, but you're going to want to also build campuses and theater squares afterwards. It depends, really. You might go for campuses first immediately if you really want to go for a science victory, but I'd rather you go and build the hansas, get the campuses afterwards for much, much cheaper, and theater squares depending on what victory type you are going for. You could obviously go for holy sites as Germany, but I don't really like that as much for one simple reason. On the higher difficulties especially, you have to go and beeline a religion 90% of the time or you're not going to get one. And even if you don't put all your effort towards one, you might not even get all the best abilities. You might be like the last religion who gets to pick or something like that. So going for a religion definitely means you have to go focus that first, and the Hansa will be a lot later on than you would personally like. So my opinion on the ideal strategy for Germany is a quick rundown. Grow your population while beelining the Hansas, maybe pick up campuses on the way if you want a science victory and don't have anything else to build. Build your Hansas and commercial hubs, which you get on the way to beelining Hansas, while getting your aqueducts and dams. Build your aqueducts and dams around your Hansas. Plan out your best city locations. I do recommend the Better Map Tax mod that does help you show you the yields, especially if you're on PC, show you the yields of exactly what your districts are going to provide. And then finally, spam out campuses and theater squares depending on your victory type, and then do whatever the hell you want from there because Germany's production is really that broken. Next up, I thought this would be something interesting to do. Let me know down in the comments if you guys do want more of this in the future. I'm going to come up with a couple secret strategies, unknown strategies, from my infinite experience in Civilization 6. I do obviously have 500,000 hours on the game. That's a joke, by the way, but here are some secret strategies for Germany. Number 1, the work ethic rush. Now, I know I said going for a religion isn't that good on Germany, but in the right situation, you could go for a work ethic rush. You know, maybe you could get the Jungle Pantheon and get a massive adjacency that way. Going for work ethic and maybe getting a +4 or 5 holy site. You know, maybe you start near deserts or tundra or something, or maybe near just a couple of hills and forests, or mountains and forests, sorry. You could go for work ethic, and you could get so much more production by doing the same strategy, except beelining a religion, getting the work ethic religion, spreading it to your cities. Work ethic obviously giving you production for each adjacency the holy site has, and all that extra production should help you not only build Hansas faster, but all in all, it's just going to end up being more production later on in the game. Obviously, this isn't the most ideal strategy, but it is definitely better in the long term if you are willing to wait a couple 100 turns pretty much for it to kick in. Next up, we have the city-state promotion spam. It's simple. As Germany, you obviously have combat strength towards city-states, and in the ancient era, when you declare war, you generate minimal grievances, if any at all. So this plan would be, go to every city-state that you're really not going to want suzerainty of, declare war on them, and never make peace and never take the city. What you're going to do is you're going to keep attacking them with your units. Keep attacking either the city or the city-states units with your own units. Obviously, city-states are not like barbarians. Barbarians, you get 1 promotion and then you're getting 1 experience when attacking barbarians thereafter. City-states, there is no cap on the amount of experience you can get, and by the time late game comes around, you should have maybe your entire army with the tier 4 double attack promotion or whatever it is. Maybe light cavalry doesn't have that, neither do swordsmen, I don't think, but you could go ahead and do that and have a really well promoted army for any late game endeavors, or even for defense. Use those military units that are really strong to help defend your empire. Finally, we have naval conquest strategy. Now, the reason for this is because your U-boat is still a pretty decent unit in the right map. So maybe going for an archipelago map, you're still going to have your hansas, so you're still going to have a massive amount of production comparatively. You're going to use those hansa production to spam out boats, go for a frigate rush early on along with a couple of caravels, and then beeline your U-boats, and you can also beeline destroyers and missile cruisers on the way before going and getting some airplane units and aircraft carriers to potentially end out the game. The production, as well as your really good U-boat unique unit on the right map, means that an archipelago domination victory could potentially be done as Germany and could be done very well. Finally, here we are at the penultimate step. We are going to, really the ultimate step. I don't know why I said penultimate, but we're going to look at the rankings for each victory type as Germany. For a domination victory, we are going to give them the B ranking. The reason for that is because they have so much production early on that they are going to be able to spam out military units, which definitely helps them out. The reason they're not higher is because they don't have any bonuses towards an actual domination victory. The city-state combat bonus really doesn't count, and the military policy extra policy card really is negligible, quite honestly. They don't have any bonuses towards real domination. I guess the U-boat technically counts, but considering that most of the time they're not going to be as effective, especially considering that the enemy AI usually almost never builds naval units unless it's on an archipelago map, I'm going to give them a nice B for a domination victory. They have a good bonus, but nothing specifically geared towards domination. Next up, we have the science victory. I am going to give them the S ranking, the highest possible ranking for a science victory. It's simple. Spaceship parts require production. Germany has production. Germany equals higher production, equals easier spaceship parts, equals better science victory, equals big stonks. That's right. I'm not a financial advisor, though. Don't take my advice for granted. Science victory, it's an S. It's obvious. They just have so much production that they're going to be able to build whatever campuses they want. Eventually, they're going to be able to build spaceship parts so fast, you will win a very easy science victory, and it will be great, fun, easy, and it's just absolutely insane. Next up, we have a culture victory. I'm going to give them an A towards a culture victory. Again, you're going to be able to build not only theater squares, but amphitheaters, museums, and also radio stations are fairly expensive, I find, most of the time. With the extra production, you're going to be able to build all these buildings very, very, very quickly, as well as the wonder spam is going to be on as Germany. By the medieval to Renaissance era, really when the wonders for a culture victory are really needed and you got to start picking some up, you should have Hansas placed as well as aqueducts and dams, and then you could get really good wonders like the Forbidden City, the Bolshoi Theater, and other wonders that could help you towards a culture victory. Because of this, you should be able to get almost every wonder from then on afterwards, and with that, and with all the great people you're going to be getting, that should be an easy culture victory as Germany. Next up, we have a religious victory. Religious victory, I'm going to give them a C+. I really don't see any benefit towards a religious victory for Germany. Production really doesn't help religious victories as much as faith output does, and I guess you could say that the Hansas do help you build holy sites a little faster, but that really is going to be true for only your later cities, quite honestly, because earlier on, holy sites are fairly cheap, they're fairly inexpensive, as the first district especially. Again, you're going to want to have to beeline religion, so you're going to actually miss out on a lot of Hansa production, and by the time you do get Hansas, you're going to have like holy sites in every city, so I really don't see a point towards that. I'll give them a C+ instead of a C, solely because that, well, they do have a bonus towards getting holy sites if, somehow you get Hansa super duper early on and no one has founded the last religion. Next up, we got a diplomatic victory. They are going to get a C. The only reason you're going to use production for a diplomatic victory is during a couple of the projects, but even then, you're only going to be getting 1 or 2 diplo points from doing those projects. Now, the reason they're not C plus like a religious victory is because they have a combat bonus towards city-states, meaning you don't really want to make allies with every city-state, and doing that, you'll not only cause grievances, but you will also, lose out on diplo favor from taking out those city-states. You obviously don't have to take out the city-states, but I'd be like, you're not using your ability, so are you really playing Germany if you're not using all your abilities? I thought so. But overall, I am going to give them the S tier ranking. Again, I didn't add up the rankings and divide them by 5 or whatever. This is just how I feel they are overall. Overall, all their production makes them just one of the best civs in the entire game. Definitely top 5, I would think. It's just so insanely good that you have infinite possibilities after getting all that production out. It just really is that good. So yeah, these are all my rankings for Germany. And yeah, we're pretty much done here. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have enjoyed, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below letting me know what civ you guys want to see in next week's video. I do want to go through every civ, potentially, and do some rankings like this. Maybe give you guys a couple insights on how to win with each leader, maybe some specific strategies, and just give you my tips on every single leader. But, yeah, if you have enjoyed, like, subscribe. I already said that, but I'll see you all in the next video. Peace. Huge shout out to my members, Cash Christian, Ben Ownby, John Blair, Jackson Perez, Polaris Gaming, Empyreum, Jeff Utzler, Kim Cosmos, and a really special shout out to my Oh My God subscribers, Robert and Overflow of Amenities.